All right, thank you, Paula, and welcome everyone, both here in person and online. My name is Mayor Mike Peterson. This is the City of Cottonwood Heights. It's our business meeting. It's just after 7 p.m. and it's Tuesday, July 6th, 2021. And for the public record, once again, and for my wife's benefit, today is my 51st wedding anniversary, and I'll be getting a medal later on, I'm sure, that I lasted 51 years. But anyway, welcome everyone. I'd like to excuse Councilor Michael this evening, who is away on business and has a conflict this evening and cannot join us. We'll also now have a pledge of allegiance, and we're going to ask Councilmember Doug Peterson, SEN, to join us. Thank you, Councilmember Peterson. Following the agenda, item 3.0 is the Government Finance Office Association Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the city's 2020-2021 budget. I'd like to turn the time over now to our city manager, Tim Tingey, for that presentation. Tim, so turn the time to you.
Yes, I just want to acknowledge our Finance and Administrative Services Department, Scott Jurgis, our Finance and Administrative Services Director, and his staff, and really all of the departments in the city: Public Works, Police, Records, Culture and HR, Finance and Administration, as I mentioned, Community Economic Development, for all of the efforts that they put forth in this budget. The process is very important that we go through, and I've worked in government for 24 years and really feel strongly that the efforts we put forth regarding collaboration with council members through our committees, and also our efforts with going above and beyond in analyzing and doing comparisons with other cities really indicate how effective and efficient we are in the process. Just a couple of things related to the award. There's a panel of independent reviewers that reviews the documents and puts forth recommendations. It's the highest form of recognition in government budgeting that you can receive as a government entity. And we've received that, as I've said, this year. It's reviewed, and the criteria includes the document as a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communication device. And it meets all of the standards to receive this award. In addition, they indicate, and I'll quote, the award recipients have, quote, pioneered efforts to improve the quality of budgeting and provide an excellent example of other governments throughout North America. So I'm really grateful for the efforts of all of the departments, especially Scott and his staff. This is a great recognition for us, and I'm very pleased that we've received this.
All right, thank you, Tim. Is someone here to present that, or is that we just received? I know the letters in our packet, and just like you said, even in the first paragraph, it talks about the panel of independent reviewers who have looked at that, et cetera. So again, Scott and staff, as the mayor, I sincerely appreciate the efforts, especially this year with the extra work done and the analysis comparing costs with other municipalities and looking at that that information. So Scott, any comments?
Just really quick, this will be the eighth consecutive year that we've received the award. We'll be starting to work on the full budget book for the budget that we just adopted at our last meeting, and we'll turn that in a little later this year and expect to receive our 9th award for that budget when we turn that in.
All right, thank you, and congratulations once again.
Mayor, I would note
You put your microphone on.
less
Oh,
than 10%.
less than 10%. Thank you for that additional information.
Mayor, I have a brief comment. You can put this as my public comment. I want to say congratulations to Scott Jurgis as our budget director for his award-winning accounting. Jurgis does an amazing job, and kudos to Tim Tingy, our city manager, for hiring him. Tim has repeatedly made good new hires that have been a tremendous asset to the city. Despite the amazing accounting that's going into this, I feel what the platform I ran on, we continue to let constituents down. I campaigned on a promise to get a level of budget transparency that my constituents wanted. And the fact that we've approved 4 budgets in a row without that level of transparency tells me there's something that we wish to hide. In no way do I fault our finance director. Accounting does not demand the level of details that I'm asking for, but our constituents do. My business CPA is also an award-winning accountant, does a fantastic job, and requires that I provide an accurate cost of goods sold at the end of every year. She doesn't really care how much I spend on lettuce versus tomatoes, as long as that cost of goods sold number is accurate. But those are details that I seek to know as a business operator to help me make prudent decisions. On behalf of my constituents, I've been asking this city to detail exactly how much of IT goes into police versus public works versus office staff, how much HR, how much does it spend outfitting new police vehicles every other year. I've been asking for operational details that this city has refused to provide, details that are essential for the residents of the city to make informed decisions about how their tax dollars are being spent. Like I said, it is of no fault to the staff. And it continues to be an intentional decision by the councilmen to obscure those important details about our city's spending. I have and I will continue to push for transparency for my constituents. And I have asked for, and it's something they deserve. That's all. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Bruce. Other comment?
I want to thank Scott and his staff for the wonderful work they do. I know that I'm in business as well, but restaurants in different cities have different accounting techniques, and I understand that. But Scott has been nothing but amazing in what you've done, and I appreciate the work that you've done and the transparency that Council Bruce is usually tied directly to our police force, and we all understand that. But thanks so much, Scott, for what you do.
Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
I just want to reiterate, and I know there's differing viewpoints on this. As I said, I've been involved in this process for 24 years in 3 different government entities, and I'm very much appreciative of this budget process. It's transparent, it's collaborative, and we do a great job in providing that information. We have the detailed budget documents that can provide information that you want to see. And so the bottom line is this process is transparent and collaborative, and I think we go above and beyond what other government entities do in the budget process.
Accusation.
Thank you,
there's
Tim.
The accusation that there's some malicious intent by councilmen to hide it is not only sexist, it's patently false.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Bracken, it was a legislative decision as to the type of accounting and the type of itemization that we used. It was a legislative decision.
Okay, appreciate the dialogue, and that's why we're a council of 5, not a council of 1. And as Mr. Tingy talked about, doing this for 25 years, and I've been doing it for 50 years. That's why I'm old. When I became mayor, to increase participation of the council in the budget process, we followed the UFA model, and we created budget committees. The council members, 2 council members are on the budget committee, and 2 council members are on the benefits and compensation committee. So every council member has every opportunity to ask any question whatsoever they would like to see. And so as much as I appreciate Councilor Bruce's position, and she has a right to have that position, She was involved in many, many of those meetings and often complimented staff and the process, even the transparency piece that Mr. Georges provided, extremely complimentary. So I get mixed messages. You know, we've tried to be as transparent as anybody wants, and Councilman Bruce even brought in a CPA from our community to meet with our finance staff. He came in, I even talked to him the other day, and he again complimented us on our efforts in our governmental accounting. Again, I appreciate Councilman Bruce, an elected official, to have an opinion. I strongly disagree. There is no intent whatsoever by me as a mayor, or do I sense from anybody on the council to maliciously try and hide any piece of information. I think that is false. And I'm not sure where that comes from a council member who is actually at every single meeting that we have on the budget. So with that, I'll
I
take
have one
final
last thing,
comments.
Mayor. I just want to point out that that our city manager says that those numbers are readily available, but I gave an itemized list. It was like 32 bullet points of information that I was asking for. And he brought that list back before the council and said, this is going to require quite a bit of staff time. And so I need a majority input from the council before I dedicate staff to answering these questions. So I didn't get a single one of my answers. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, again, that's where a council of 5 and not 1, and sometimes we respectfully agree to disagree. So we'll move on, and again, appreciate Scott and your efforts, and for the independent reviewers of our budget who gave it rave reviews, and I respect their opinion. We'll now move ahead to citizen comments, where we allow our citizens to make a public comment. We'll allow 3 minutes per comment, and we have a couple people who have offered a speaker comment card notifying us of their willingness to comment. So first we'll go to, I'm going to read the way it's written. Crazy Timmy Halbeck. Come on up.
All right then. Thank you for quoting me verbatim. I really appreciate that. That's all good.
Totally transparent. Totally transparent.
100% transparent. That's right. So I have a couple of very unlikely comments here tonight in defense of Councilman Bruce. Total transparency is exactly that. If anyone on this council says to the city manager or to the any of the other folks and says, hey, can you give me the numbers of this? Can you give me the information on this? It should be provided 100%, just like that. Not that it's going to take me time. It's going to take some effort, that kind of thing. On May 1st, I made some comments and I attributed to Councilman Bruce her participation in the defund the police organization, in the defund the police cause and that kind of thing. She has never once actually said, I'm part of that. And so I stand corrected. And for that, I apologize. Yeah, so that's that. I am. What person says and what you hear, what you perceive are sometimes very different. And that's kind of common. So I apologize to Councilman Bruce for those kind of comments. Secondly, I would like to thank Mr. Pilgrim and the other members of the, Draper, Sandy, ourselves, Midvale of the 1300 and West ban on fireworks, that kind of thing. Last night, I had one neighbor that I had to yell at. Okay, there's always somebody. There's always somebody that's going to be on it. But other than that, it was great. We didn't have fireworks. We didn't have any kind of fires. We hadn't any emergencies that I know of. Maybe you might speak to that. But the cooperation of Cottonwood Heights, the citizenry of Cottonwood Heights, and everyone else was fantastic. And I really appreciate that. I would say on that point, I think the 16th, which is I think a Tuesday or Thursday, if by some miracle we get 5 days of rain, we get, this horrible torrential downpour of things. If you guys could schedule that ahead of time, so we don't have what happened last time with a week ago, was it Monday? You had to do a last minute thing to say, let's outlaw this and let's all like this kind of thing. Let's schedule that ahead of time. And just in case some weather event happens, and we can all do all the parks we want on July 20th for Pioneer Day. Let's put that on the calendar. You can always cancel it after it's on the calendar, but you can't put it on the calendar with 12 hours or 24 hours notice kind of thing. So that's it. Thanks.
All right, Tim, and I think we should just take a moment now and thank our residents, because the report we have from Chief Russo and from Riley Pilgrim is the voluntary compliance has been overwhelming by our residents, and kudos to them for that sensitivity. I think that needs to be mentioned. So
Thank you. Thanks.
thank you, Tim. Okay, Miley Evans. Miley, come on up.
Well, I'm just glad you didn't read it as it's written. Otherwise, it would be me. But phonetically, you said it right. So I am here because there was a few different residents, quite a few actually, that wanted to discuss the parking, which Mike Johnson had in the previous meeting. And I know that legislation and ordinances takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. However, the comments I received, they were somewhat generic in the decisions that you're making. We've come to look at rentals. One in particular in our area is not just renting out his basement, he's renting out rooms. So each room has a separate vehicle. So when you look at the parking, the ADU would not really comply with that. You would have to have additional parking onto that. And then you would also classify that in tandem. So if there is a way to possibly have any rental units have something besides the generic form and maybe enforce it a little bit better, then we wouldn't have so many residents up in arms. If you're a resident that has lived there and you have quite a few people, or your kids are getting older and they have additional cars, it's much easier to contact your neighbors and say, yeah, I'm sorry, but if you have an influx of renters all the time, becomes a real hazard, not only on the street, but for the neighbors themselves. Again, with parking, bike lane ordinance, if there is none, some people would like that. I contacted the state. There is no law that says a car cannot park there for the state on a bike lane. However, I contacted several municipalities. Most of them said there was an ordinance. However, they could not give me the ordinance itself. So they're going to be contacting me. Midville was the only one that said no. But that is also concerned if you go from 35th East down here on Bengal Boulevard, there was 12 cars parked, 5 on the north and 7 on the south. And it kind of narrows. So there's not enough room for both the car and the bike. And if you're coming downhill, that bike has to swerve out of the way. Also 23rd East, there's a problem because you have several cars parked right now in the bike lane. So that's one of the issues. The last one is the stormwater fee. We have a few residents that are up in arms on that. If we could start lower, say anywhere from $3.50 to $5, and then increase it, they would be happy with that.
Thank you. Appreciate those comments. And just a reminder to those who comment that we don't usually get into a dialogue with individuals during public comments, but we take notes, and where appropriate, we'll contact the speaker and share additional information with them. But appreciate those comments. Is it Ronar Bowman? Come on up. Thank you. Did I say that right? Close. All right.
My name is Runer Bowman.
Oh, Runer. Okay.
Yes, and I'm a Cottonwood Heights resident. I live in District 3, just down the hill, actually. And like the previous speaker, I'd like to mention things about the bike lanes and some road conditions. I'm an avid road cyclist. I've been doing this for years, and I ride up 23, make a left and go up Bengal, and then continue on south into Sandy and what have you.
Yeah.
So it's my route, and I come back the same way. And as the previous speaker mentioned, you know, that we have these nice wide bike lanes, but they're populated by parked cars. And I get it, you know, I mean, that's just an issue we have. And I know how to handle myself around vehicles, but it's a little disconcerting to move, into the roadway, especially going uphill when you're only going about 7, 8, 9 miles an hour, because that's, it's a hill, and these cars are going by at 45. You're just putting yourself at a little higher risk. So something that I'm a little aware of, because I like to stay healthy. So what I noticed is some of the roads here, especially some downhill sections in other cities as well, they have these stenciled bicycle little emblems on the road that signify the cyclist can ride in the roadway.
Yeah, because the road's not wide enough for the bike lane. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know that when I'm coming down, for example, Bengal between 3,500 south and 2,700 east, that area, that stretch, I'm riding in the road because I'm going about 35. So I'm almost going car speed. It's really easy because it's downhill. The bike lane is just not an option because you would be weaving in and out, and it's just treacherous. And so my question is, would it be possible maybe on these downhill sections, for example, between 35 and 27, and also between here and down to 7120 at the bottom of this hill on 2300, just stencil those roads with those bike insignias, if you will, just to let motorists know that, hey, cyclists can be in the road, on these downhill sections because they're high speed and, the bike lanes are unavailable. So that's one of my requests is that's a possibility if that could happen.
That's a great suggestion. I know we've done that in some other areas, and we'll look into that.
Right.
Paint's pretty cheap compared to other traffic calming issues. Yeah.
Right. And I'm not one of these entitled cyclists that just hogs the road. I mean, when the cars come, I move over. I'm not out there to cause problems, anything like that. But it's just from a safety standpoint, it'd be really nice to be able to know that. And I do that anyway, just because of self-preservation, but it'd be nice for the motorist to know that I'm not being a jerk by me being out in the roadway a bit, because right now that is a problem. The other issue I'd like to bring up is the 2300 between here at the bottom of the hill, approximately 7120. The road is incredibly rough. And I think everybody who I've talked to all concurs that road is just like, it's like being on a bucking bronco. It's just on a bike, especially, it really gets your attention. It's so rough. I remember, I think it was 3 years ago, that road was resurfaced with chip seal, I believe it was. And prior to that, the road was really bad. And I thought, okay, great, they're going to resurface it. Typically you see a steamroller and they put some nice black asphalt down and it's all smooth and wonderful. In this case, they just laid down a layer of chip seal and just left it as is. And the road is as rough as ever. It hasn't changed one bit as far as improvement goes. Yes, they might have filled in a few cracks here and there, but the road surface itself is incredibly rough. And after I just drove up here coming to the meeting, and you're going like this the whole way up. It is a rough road. And I noticed there's resolution 2136 you guys might be discussing later about road improvements. Could that possibly be something maybe to address? Because I think everybody would agree who drives that road that's pretty unacceptable to have a resurfaced road that is incredibly rough. And like I said, from a cyclist standpoint, you got to hang on because you're going to get bucked off if you're not paying attention. It's really rough. So those two issues, I'd just be, request maybe that would be a consideration.
Yeah, I think we'll get some communication back with you both on stenciling that emblem in some areas, and also talk about where that is in our 5-year road maintenance plan, because we have the whole city, and
Right.
but we need that feedback. So
Okay.
we've got to know. That's why we have speaker cards.
Thank you.
Nunar, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us.
Apparently, Mayor, whenever you speak that, alarm goes.
Every time I speak, the alarm goes off. Well, for 6 more months. Yeah. All right. Anyone else who has not submitted a speaker comment card who would like to comment to the council? I don't want to make light of it and give everybody an opportunity. All right. Hearing none, we'll close our citizen comment period and we'll move to our public comment period regarding a land use amendment and rezone on 7432 South, and again, talking about 2300 East. So I'll turn it over to Mike Johnson to introduce the subject for public comment.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll run through this overview of the request one more time. Maybe. There we go. So this is actually two land use applications, one for a land use map amendment and one for a zone change. The proposal for the land use amendment is residential low density to residential medium density, which corresponds with a zone change from R18, which is single family residential, to R28, which is up to 2-family residential at 7432 South, 2300 East, which is just down the hill from us at City Hall here. So for context, it's like I said, it's around the corner. The little piece that's being proposed for rezone was previously part of a larger, almost 2-acre piece that has recently been subdivided off. So the request is only for the subdivided parcel that fronts on 2300 East. Current zoning is R18. The proposed zoning is R28. As we talked about in the work session, the context of the area is important here. The zoning is R28 up and down 2300 East with existing twin homes and duplexes kind of all around this property. And then the land use, which is the general plan designation for the area, kind of the vision that's established that underlies the zone. That was also residential low density. So the proposal is is to change that to medium density, which matches the rezone. So those two are then compatible. There's a bit of an interesting history with this parcel undergoing numerous lot changes and consolidations over the years, which I think speaks to why the small little sliver of that piece is zoned single family rather than multifamily. So as you can see, before the recent subdivision, this was one large 1.72 acre property with a single family home and some agricultural kind of orchard type use on it. But originally, back in the late 90s, you can see this was split up in 4 different parcels. So the red kind of shadow there is what it was when the application was made. But previously, this was just different pieces of various lots, both within the neighborhood and along 2300 East that have been kind of carved up and consolidated and subdivided over time. So the zoning designation prior to incorporation right along here was R28 in Salt Lake County. And actually the original zoning map of the city, it's a fuzzy kind of scanned image here, but it was also R28. And that zoning line matched the western edge of these old historic parcel lines. So we think when these lots were consolidated, we don't have any record of them going through a city process. So we think they took on the attributes of the larger parcel within the neighborhood and then became single family. And R28 allows for single family homes, but it also allows for multifamily up to 2-family dwellings. So you can't propose a triplex or a fourplex or anything. The conditional uses in this zone are largely the same as conditional uses in the R18 zone. So that list doesn't change much. Staff recommends approval of this, just given the context of the area and kind of the unique history and how the parcels have changed. But the Planning Commission also took a public comment in early June and unanimously recommended approval of both the land use change and the zone change. Any questions?
You back to the conditional uses, which ones actually are different from R18?
I would have to double check. I don't know that any of them are. I think it's
so
the
either.
same list.
Okay. The other question I had, and I apologize for not asking, medium density land use, how dense does that go? Does that go to high density residential or does it?
No, I think because we only, in Cottonwood Heights, we have single family zones. We have the R2 and then RM, which is residential multifamily. I don't think the medium density allows anything above R2. When you go to RM, then that's high density.
I apologize.
That's very generally speaking.
Right.
But
No, I appreciate that because my question that I always ask when we go to do a rezone is what potentially could happen. I understand what the applicants said that they were going to do, but what's the worst possible thing that may happen? And that's why I asked you a couple of those questions. What does the land use mean? And then if there, I agree. I don't recall there being any difference between R2 and R1 on the conditional uses, so I don't see that as significant. This was a parcel of significant debate when we did the original general plan. I mean, it kept vacillating. It took us a while before we figured out that it was kind of all connected. So I think this adjustment and the work done by the applicant to separate this piece and make it that. And separate it from the other piece makes it much more acceptable and applicable request.
I think for the record too, it's 0.198 acres. It's a pretty small piece to, you look at the conditional use permit. Opportunities are fairly limited, yeah. But I think the other thing for me is that when I look at things like this, is what are the surrounding zones, and I think both to the north and south, it's R28, so it fits right in. It seems only natural and, you know, broken off to me. It seems like common sense. Yeah. Any further comments, questions from the council?
I think we've gone over this fairly, those that don't know, in our work session, we go over all of these projects in detail. And it didn't sound like any comments from the area had any problems with this. Is that correct, Mike?
We did get some comments expressing
couple,
concern
yeah.
over high density.
Before
I think,
they had the all.
I think some of that was clarified when it was shown that only a 2-family dwelling is allowed, no high rise. Multifamily is allowed, and it's not a rezone for the whole 1.75 acre piece.
Yeah, it'd be a whole different issue if you're talking a whole piece. We're talking
Right.
about just 2/10 of an acre, yeah.
Correct.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Now we will again move forward with the public comment period on this land use amendment and rezone. Is there anyone who'd like to make comment on this land use amendment and rezone? Okay, hearing nothing from Crazy Tim, we'll move forward. All right, moving to item 6.0, which are action items. We have before you 6.1, which is the consideration of ordinance 361A, approving the general plan amendment, or consideration of ordinance 361D, denying the general plan amendment. Do I have a motion for number A or D?
Mayor, I would move that we approve ordinance 361-A.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Bruce to approve ordinance 361A. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, I call for the vote. First, we'll note again that Councilmember Michael is excused. Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
Councilmember Bruce,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. The next item is consideration of ordinance 362A, approving the rezone of 0.196 acre of real property located at 7432 South 23rd East from R18 to R28. So either approving that on 362A or denying that on 362D. So I'd entertain a motion for ordinance 362A or 362D.
I move that we approve, Mayor.
It's been moved by Councilmember Peterson to approve. Do I have a second?
Yes.
The second by Councilmember Bruce. Any further discussion, comments? Hearing none, I call for the vote. Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bruce,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. Okay, following the agenda, the next item is item 6.3, consideration of resolution 2021-34, approving appointment to the Planning Commission of Mr. Jonathan Ebler, if I said that correctly, and you have his resume in front of you to look at, and we've reviewed that, and seems very well qualified and a great fit. Any comments or questions on this resolution?
I would just say thank you so much to the quality individuals that lend their time and energy and brilliance, such as Jonathan. Fantastic resume. He'll be a tremendous asset. We've really got great people here in Cottonwood Heights.
So, Johnson, I recognize you there, I guess, from your picture on your resume. Do you want to introduce yourself or come on up? It's always a pleasure when we have one of our new planning commissioners join us. So you're just moving here from Maryland, is that right?
That's correct. I'm originally from California, but spent the last 10 years or so in Maryland. I was vice mayor. I sat on council. I sat on an architectural review commission, and I was probably a week into office and on council, and they said, here, negotiate the largest land development deal inside the Beltway in DC. So we brought in the first Whole Foods into the county, and it's just been transformational in terms of what we've been able to do. But certainly excited about this. And before I forget, let me say thank you to Mr. Mayor and council in terms of, I understand that when I sat in your seats, it was awesome to have a constituent say, thank you. So thank you for your service. Happy to answer any questions about my experience,
No,
background.
just welcome, and we appreciate your experience, and feel free to reach out to any of us
Sure.
individually. And of course, you're working with a great staff. So welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you in the
And
community.
super excited about the fact that there's a general plan update in
Yep.
2022.
Yeah,
So
that's a big
excited
step.
to get started.
Thank you.
Thank you again. With that introduction, I'd entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2021-34.
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bruce. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
And second by Councilmember Peterson. Any last comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
Councilmember Bruce,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. The next item is consideration of resolution 2021-35 and approving an agreement with the GOED for our outdoor recreation infrastructure grant. I think that's for, I think it was like for $150,000, assists us in some shared trailhead and parking just off Wasatch Boulevard. Mike, do you want to say anything about that?
Just briefly, this is the fund from the the Office of Outdoor Recreation from the state of Utah. So it funds projects of significant, regional importance in the outdoor recreation realm. So a Bonneville shoreline and Ferguson Canyon shared trailhead and natural park area fit that criteria well. So we're excited to move forward with that.
Thank you. Yeah, whenever we can partner with our state agencies or county agencies, that's always a plus. Any final comments, questions from the council? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
I move that we approve, Mayor.
It's been moved by Councilmember Peterson. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Bracken. Any final comments, questions?
Excited to see it going up. We have a time frame to get that going and done.
Hopefully have a ribbon cutting by the end of the year, right?
I don't think weather's going to be a problem.
Yeah, all right. Okay, thank you. I'll call for the vote. Councilmember Bruce,
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. The next item is resolution 2021-36, approving and ratifying a bid and award of a construction contract for citywide roadway improvement project. This is part of our 5-year road improvement plan as referenced by one of our public comment individuals. Any final questions, comments regarding this resolution?
I just note that this is 800,000. Is that right?
Yes,
For 5
$832,000.
years, man.
It's only part of the 5-year plan. There's other things we do as well, but this is an important piece of it. And hopefully we can do again more each year, but
Get 2030 smoothed out.
well, it's
Yeah.
definitely needs to be done
No, that's
for
fine.
those of us who drive it regularly, including myself.
Yeah.
All right, any further comments, questions on the resolution?
I move that we approve resolution 2021-36.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bruce. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
It's been seconded by Councilmember Peterson. Any further comments, questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain, or I'll call for the vote. Councilmember Bruce,
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. The next item on our agenda is consideration of resolution 2021-37, approving an appointment to the Historic Committee of Miss Jessica Despain. And also in the resolution, it confirms the status of the other members of the committee. Tim, you want to introduce this subject or?
Yes, we had the opportunity to meet with Jessica. She's really excited about being part of this committee. She, as I mentioned in the work session, she has some really great skills I think will add value, including graphic design, marketing, and then social media elements. She's a lifelong resident of Cottonwood Heights and is excited to serve, and I'm recommending approval of this appointment.
Thank you for that, Tim, and thank you to all of our committee members. Again, for the audience, we have several committees in our city, and these are volunteers who contribute much to the quality of life that makes Cottonwood Heights such a great place to live. Any final comments, questions on this?
Yeah, Mayor,
Resolution.
as the liaison to the Historic Committee, we are
Yep.
super excited for new blood. So very, very pleased to have her join.
Thank you. Is that a motion to approve?
Yes, I request that we approve resolution 2021-37.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Bruce. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
It's been seconded by Councilmember Peterson. Any final comments? Again, being a liaison to that committee before, it's one of my favorite groups. All right, I'll call for the vote. Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bracken,
Yes.
Councilmember Bruce,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. Okay, that's all of our action items, other than we do have a consent calendar item, which is approval of the city council work session and business meeting minutes for June 15th, 2021, and approval of the June 21st, 2021 city council special business meeting, which I think was regarding the fireworks issue. So I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
I move that we approve that, Mayor.
It's been moved by Councilmember Peterson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Bruce. I'll just ask for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And for the record, is there any opposed? I'll let the record show that's unanimous. I would now entertain a motion to adjourn the city council business meeting.
I'm still here, so I'll move that we.
It's been moved that we adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. That was unanimous. Thank